All right, week 14 is live. We are looking at some lineups tonight. Let's see. We've also got a number of questions from Tuesday's show that we did not get to. So let's start off with some of those questions. Then we'll jump into a couple of lineups, and then we can go back to questions. So first question here from Tuesday, Alex, is what about Herron this week? Talk to me about Boone Herron.
I actually like Herron mostly because I hate Trent Richardson. So, I mean, he's been doing pretty well his last two games. He has double digits in both those games. He had 13.6 against Jacksonville without getting in the end zone, and he got in the end zone last week against Washington with that big run. Just the one, I don't know about his price right now because there obviously is that Trent Richardson factor. Herron should be getting more carries, more receptions, more touches in general, but he's at that price. He's still getting things pilfered away from him in that running game. When he was 3,000 when it first got started, that's great. That's awesome for him to have 3,000. I don't care how many touches he's going to get. You know he's going to outdo that value. But at 56, he has to get you at least 15 plus points for him to be. Or at 56, he needs like 17, 16 and a half. I'm not 100% on board with that this week. I like his skill set. I think that if he was given the full workload, that would be a great price for him. But you never ever know what Trent Richardson's going to do in this backfield because they have too much invested in him and they want to get him the ball, even though he's terrible.
So I want to touch on that because I don't know if you followed, but this week all Trent Richardson's talking about is giving it to the Browns for letting him go and giving up on him. So I could easily see him pilfering touchdowns from Herron this week. I could see them, giving him the ball in the red zone, trying to get him in the end zone, trying to get him to, essentially put that stamp on Cleveland and say, this is what you missed. I mean, I'm totally see this as a revenge game for Richardson, which makes me downgrade Herron a bit. Looking at the past couple weeks, though, I see how people can like Herron, so I'm not saying he's a bad play. I'm just saying I think Richardson can definitely pilfer those touches like you were saying. So I agree with you there. He's not high on my list, especially at that price, especially when, we still see Crowell as questionable. West could be the starter there for, punt play type of price. So I'm looking elsewhere personally this week outside of Indy for a running back. We also had a question on Charles Clay. I don't know his injury status, but I do know I played Deion Sims in one lineup this past week because Clay was out. So keep an eye on that. Do you know anything about that, Alex? You paid any attention to
I don't know.
Charles
I haven't heard anything specifically regarding Clay, but if Clay's out again, and let me check Sims' price. Charles Sims is at 33. Not a bad punt play. I mean, well, they're playing Detroit, right? Yeah.
Baltimore, I thought?
No, sorry, Charles Sims. I'm looking at the wrong name. Deion Sims. They're playing Baltimore. Oh, yeah. Punt play, Deion Sims. Tannehill has to get a tight end involved. So if Clay doesn't play Sims. If not, Clay's not bad at 34. But he's not that healthy, and Tony Romo, third touchdown.
To who? I'm not watching.
Doesn't matter. It's not Dez, though.
It wasn't Cole.
I'm really glad I didn't put it. I'm really glad I completely forgot to put my Thursday lineup in because it went to Escobar and 3 touchdowns, none to Dez.
Screw that guy.
Right?
I went in my primetime lineup. I went with Forte and Murray. So I had to go really cheap at receiver, and I have Beasley, so I was pretty pumped with tonight. Output.
You're good.
So next question is Marion Grice for a possible injured Andre Ellington this week.
I don't care.
I don't see it.
There's 15 other terrible running backs that they have. They could give the play. They have Michael Bush. They have Grice. They have Stephon Taylor. Like they're they have other guys that are going to get the ball. They're not just going to give it to one guy and let him run with it because Grimes isn't that good. He's okay. He's not that good, though. Where'd you go, Mark? Mark.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I lost you. What happened?
I honestly don't know. All of a sudden, just screen went blank. So either way, I'm
You
back.
missed what I said?
I missed what you said, but I'll catch it on the way back. You were talking about Marion Grice. You don't like him.
Yeah, I just don't. There's too many guys there who get the ball. I don't know.
It's not like Cleveland's backfield where it's next man up is the same person that was there before, right? This is I think a big downgrade from Ellington. So
I think if there were better players, in this backfield, that Ellington would have had less touches when he was not so healthy, like when he was starting to get healthy. And they've said that in the past. They wanted to get him healthy, but at the same time, they needed him in the game more so than they needed to put in a subpar running back because Ellington is all they have right now.
Yeah. Let's see. Next question was, what about Cecil Shorts this week?
I talked about this at the end of the show, I think, Tuesday. I'm a Marquise Lee fan this week.
Mm-hmm.
They're the same price, especially at least on DraftKings. They're the same price. I would so much rather play Marquise than Shorts.
What about Hearns?
I can't trust that man. He shows up once for 3, and then gone for 3 weeks, then back, and then gone, and then I don't know. And
so for a tournament play, maybe, but cash definitely not.
Yeah, he has. All right, he's had 2 huge games. One was week 1. Then he did it again against Cincinnati. But in between that, he has hit double digits only twice this entire season. So, no thank you.
So tournament play, but in a 50-50, if you're that low because you went high pretty much everywhere else, who would you go? Which Jags receiver would you take in a 50-50?
Marquise.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he's kind of, his role has developed more without Allen Robinson, and Bortles is trusting him more, and I think we saw that with that touchdown that he threw to him, because it wasn't like a here, catch it and try to get in the end zone. He was looking for him in the end zone. He got him like right near the end zone, or I think it was in the end zone, but it was one of those down the seam, like this pass has to get in the end zone, not here, catch this, try to get a first down, maybe get a touchdown if you do stuff with it. This is going to be a touchdown pass. Go get it.
Yeah. Okay. How about, I know you love him, but Kenny Stills this week. Can he keep his hot streak going against Carolina?
Kenny, yeah, but he's at 6,000 now. That is too much. I'm sorry, that's too much. And here's my thing with that. Graham didn't see a single target last week. I don't see that happening ever again. So Graham is going to bite off a lot of the touches that everyone else took from him last week, and I think Graham's going to explode this week. I think this is a big Graham week.
You feel like they kind of have to come back to him and say,
right. I mean,
all right, my bad for getting you 0 targets. We're going to get you, 12.
Breeze loves him. Breeze has to throw him the ball, and I feel like it was a game plan because Palomalu was healthy and Ike Taylor were healthy, and they kind of like did different things to him that most teams don't do, and they made everyone else beat him, and Breeze said, okay, I'll beat you with everyone else. Teams aren't all going to do that with Jimmy Graham, and they don't have the talent to do that, especially they're playing Carolina. The Carolina secondary is a joke. No one's going to cover him. So a lot of it's going to go to him. Stills he could have a great week, but at 6,000, he has to have 18-plus points to hit value, and the chances of him doing that are better or fairly decent, but he's also Kenny Stills, and like we've talked about it a lot, even though he's being more targeted and he's kind of in that Cook's role now, he does still have a low floor when they're just...
Okay.
It's riskier for this week. It's riskier. If his price was lower, he's a must play. But at 6,000, I feel like he's more of a tourney play with massive upside.
Okay. How about next one on the list is C.J. Anderson versus Buffalo. I'm personally avoiding it because I think Buffalo's defensive line is very, very good, studly, and much better than Kansas City's in terms of in terms of run defense, in particular. So I'm avoiding C.J. Anderson. I don't think he's going to have the same type of performance this week that he did last week.
See, I'm not really worried as much. I mean, he's had the past 2 weeks, but I'm less worried about the matchup than I am worried about whether or not Julius Thomas plays. If you guys were watching and listening to what they were saying during that Broncos game on Sunday night, they basically had 6 linemen in the whole game, and then when Vasquez went off with whatever injury he had, they kind of moved Virgil Green in as that sixth lineman, where Julius Thomas would normally be, and Julius Thomas is an alignment. So having that extra blocker created so much extra space for C.J. Anderson to get space, to get yardage, to find better holes. And I think if Julius Thomas plays, there's going to be a little bit less emphasis on that run game, especially considering that Buffalo's front seven is very good. They are very good. They have one of the best defensive lines in football. It's just, I mean, obviously the way that they're running the ball, they look fantastic. That's why his price is so ridiculously high right now. But if Julius Thomas is back, they're not going to have as many blockers in to help with that running game, I think, and that kind of caps his upside a little bit too much for my liking.
All right, let's dive into a tournament lineup in DraftKings. Then I'm going to share my screen out and get us to a tournament lineup in DraftKings, if I can pull this up for you guys. Here's the one I want to share. And so my thought behind this was that I really wanted to go pretty cheap.
Robot.
It's not robot, is it?
Robot.
How about now?
So much. Yeah, you're good. You have so much extra money.
Okay, hang on. Sorry. Gotta find my. There we go. Okay. So I'll be honest, I threw Mettenberger in here just so I could get the lineup saved. So I'll take him out, and for 7,800,
Can you also take Gore out and put Matthews in? Because, I mean, we talked about this on Tuesday. I don't know if we talked about it on air, but we definitely talked about this on Tuesday.
I'm going to leave Gore in there for now. Let's look at quarterback first. So looking at who I can afford.
Well, if you put Matthews in, you can afford Stafford. Just saying.
Regardless, let's just look at it right now.
Fine.
As it is. Either Stafford, Wilson, Tannehill, Ryan, Eli. My thing with Eli is the matchup's just there, but I just don't trust him.
Who trusts him? Nobody trusts him.
I just can't. I talked about it, Rivers on Tuesday. I don't like the matchup against New England. I do, however, still like Antonio Gates this week, putting it out there. Cam Newton, no. Flacco, no. Kaepernick, Fitz, no. So Tampa Bay's actually been pretty decent against the quarterback position ever since Flacco went off against them. I think they've been, middle of the road or top half of the league. So I'm going to avoid Stafford this week actually and say I don't like Wilson. I don't always trust him either. I'm not sure what to expect out of there, especially we don't know about the weather that Philly's going to get yet. At least I don't personally. I haven't been paying attention. I feel like Tannehill is the, air quotes, sexy pick of the week because he's playing Baltimore. And their secondary is just that bad. But I have reservations playing him as well. So I mean I'm in an air right here where I don't know if I trust any of these guys, to spend up all that much money for them this week. I mean, even with Fitzpatrick, we've been talking about him all week. Don't trust him.
Robot.
It's not robot, dude.
I was hearing robot, so I don't know what to tell you. I'm just setting.
It's different. It's different. Robot versus up, in and out is two different things. Robot is when my mic literally sounds like a robot.
Yeah, but for me it's the same thing because it just whatever. To just continue. Sorry.
So Manziel.
Well, Manziel's not starting. I would have loved to have played Manziel this week.
Exactly. If he was starting, I would be all over him. McCoy, I don't trust him against
that defense.
Lewis. That defense has improved worlds these past couple of weeks. Dalton, I hate. Vic, Smith, Orton, maybe. But even then, it's Kyle Orton.
Denver's playing better. They're going to turn the ball over a bunch.
I mean, to be honest, Mettenberger out of all those guys, I mean, I don't know. I'm not crazy. I'll be honest. I think this week is one week where especially in a cash game, you want to spend up for quarterback because I just don't see the value anywhere below, say, I think Brady is probably the lowest I'd go in a cash game.
No, Stafford.
I said my piece on Stafford. I'm not a big fan of him, but I don't think I'd go below Brady. I definitely won't touch Roethlisberger.
Listen, I don't care. I understand that you're not a big fan of Stafford, but there's a big difference between the Stafford of this year and the Stafford with Calvin back. And the Stafford with Calvin back is not a $7,900 quarterback.
Well, who has he played? They played Chicago, who stinks.
Right.
Two games on the road, he stunk. He hasn't thrown more than 2 touchdowns this year since.
Listen, they had 2 real bad weeks in a row because they played 2 elite corners on Calvin. They had Revis and Patrick Peterson did work against Calvin like we weren't expecting that in that Detroit game, in that Detroit Arizona game. And then the New England matchup was just they were just better than him. But I think he caught stride last week, and he has an extra few days to prepare, get back in the groove, get back with Calvin. I'm digging Stafford. Stafford's in my lineup this week.
I'm just saying, look at the touchdowns. He hasn't thrown more than 2 in a game all year. That's why I'm personally not that high on him.
I can see that changing because if Bush is back, one of his touchdowns that usually go towards the running backs could just be one of those dump offs and Reggie Bush runs in the end zone.
Okay, I mean, I could see that. So let's then instead say, where can we get any more value other than Gore? So let's go down to Matthews like you wanted to. So Matthews is $100 cheaper. And I kind of like him against New England. New England's been against the run. Whoever's beaten them this season has proven that you have to do it by running the ball and short passes to keep moving the chains as opposed to keep scoring quickly. So if San Diego wants to win, I think that's the formula for them to win. So I could see Matthews as a decent play this week. I threw Terrence West in there, assuming he's going to start. So let's actually take him out and say.
Is he definitely starting? Because if he is, I'm gonna.
No, it was an assumption. I don't think they've really come and said anything about.
That's fine. I will freak out in joy if I can get West in my, because I'm losing Ellington. I'm pretty much resigned to not having Ellington this week, and my one team that I have that isn't on bye this week, I have West on the bench, and I need to play West over Ellington right now.
So, again, the pricings this week are very tough, especially with all these injuries going on here. Rashad Jennings, I love this week if he's healthy and plays. If not, I think going down $2,000+ to Andre Williams is a great move. But, again, he's not going to get you Jennings-type points because he doesn't catch the ball. right? Williams is going to get you against that Tennessee defense. You hope Williams gets you at least one touchdown and damn near 100 yards, if not over 100 yards. And at 4,400, I'll take that. But
I just don't. I hate this week right now. I really do. Like I hate.
it was
Tell you
pretty
guys
tough
this,
to put a
but, like,
lineup together.
Yeah, me and Mark were talking a little bit earlier. Like, this week kind of sucks. This isn't a good pricing week. There's too much up in the air with people and their prices and who's starting, who's getting touches. It's just one of those weeks where the matchups don't really work out, the prices aren't really working out. I just don't like DraftKings. I don't. I'm not a fan of what kind of lineups I can make with DraftKings this week.
Here's a super tournament lineup, I think, in my opinion.
Ooh.
Anything with Brian Hoyer at quarterback is a huge risk. As we've heard and seen, he hasn't led that team or thrown to a touchdown drive or thrown a passing touchdown in months. Huge risk. But against Indianapolis, if that team goes down and Hoyer has to throw, I think he's got pretty decent upside. So let's just keep him in there for now. I think the same with Matthews. We just talked about him. Ingram, I don't believe we talked about him Tuesday, but that matchup I like a lot.
Yeah, that matchup's great.
Beckham we spoke about. Landry we spoke about. Stills we just touched on today. So let's see what kind of value we can get around $6,000.
There's nothing in that range. Like, you're either at 6,000. Other than Landry, you're either at 6,000 or you want to be below 5,000 because Watkins with the hip. You don't know how Deshaun Jackson feels, and I don't really love that matchup for them.
Mm-hmm.
Scroll back up. Smith, who knows? I mean, he's had 2 good weeks in a row, so like his price is shooting up. I don't really trust him. Jordan Matthews, terrible matchup. Otherwise, that would be great.
Yeah.
Like there's so much uncertainty at 5,000, so much, and
it really is.
Ugh.
It really is. I mean, like again in a tournament lineup, I could see Kendall Wright. Not really though. I don't really like it all that much, especially with Hunter out now.
And then even when you get to 5,000, like look at some of these names. Vincent Jackson, I don't really want to touch, especially in that matchup. Crabtree, no. Wayne, the way things have been going, absolutely not.
Wayne burnt me the past couple.
I said it on Tuesday. Cincinnati divisional games, they suck. Don't play Sanu. Martavis Bryant, he could have a good game, but he's been dropping passes in the end zone. It's a major concern for them. Moncrief, yes, he had the big week last week, but I don't really know if he's always going to get the ball this game. Like, he's more of a huge upside, but low upside, as in
in this range, though. We touched on Moncrief Tuesday. In this range, I feel like he's probably your best bet to score a touchdown.
Right, but he's so not safe. He is so not safe.
No, and that's why I'm saying, well, before I hosed this, that's why I was saying this was a tournament lineup. So let's see, I just went backwards by accident, so I apologize. But we had Hoyer at QB, begrudgingly. We had Matthews and Ingram.
Type their names into the search. Come on, you're better than that.
Nah, I like this. I'm right here. Matthews, Ingram. I had taken Stills out, and I was going to put Moncrief in there. So what that does for me, I liked Kyle Rudolph, 3,300 in that value, but let's see if we can go upwards now that we switched around Moncrief for Stills. Kelsey, even then, you don't know what you're getting.
If we kill Fasano, that's a great price for Kelsey.
Have you gotten any offers on that yet?
Kill Fasano. No, nobody's called me about it. I'm upset right now. I'm keeping it up there for right now. Like my tagline says, "Kill Fasano."
So I'll take Delaney Walker sitting in there for 4,200. Cobb, 49ers D. let's take one last look at QBs. I mean, I can go as high as 5,600, which is Orton, Mettenberger, Bortles, McCown, Sean Hill. I mean, if you want, again, you could go Sean Hill in a tournament lineup, but I don't. I can't bring myself to recommend Sean Hill. So that's a tournament lineup for you guys for this week. Incredibly risky, but I think in certain price ranges, as you guys see, there's a lot to struggle with this week. There's nothing that we can sit on and say, at this price range, this guy's definitely getting into the end zone. It's just very, very, very tough prices for these guys this week, I think, in my opinion, and Alex's as well. So let's hit the stop button on me sharing my lineup, and let's go back to some questions really quickly. Let's see where we leave off. We touched on Landry. We touched on Shorts. Anderson. Is it crazy to have a Sean Hill and Stedman Bailey stack?
In a tournament, go for it.
Exactly my thought. In a tournament, it's not a terrible idea. Stedman Bailey, very cheap. I stuck him into a lineup this week as well. I don't know if I can bring myself to put Sean Hill in there, because even last week when they scored 52 points, he only had, 2 touchdowns, and I don't even think he had 200 yards passing. So, tough call there, but I agree 100% with Alex. In a tournament, go for it if you got the stones.
I'm a big Stedman Bailey fan.
Greg asks, do we double dip again with Fitzpatrick? I think we touched on this.
No,
I don't think so.
Stop.
What about Kaepernick versus Oakland?
I'm not dignifying that with a response. I'm not. Just, you kidding me? We've talked at length about Kaepernick. Oh my God, he's playing this like he's a good player. No Kaepernick. There are no Kaepernick questions allowed on this podcast anymore for the rest of forever.
I'm sure they're going to keep coming. What about...
Yeah, they're going to keep coming, but my answer's not going to change.
So, Joik Bell versus Tampa. I think we mentioned Reggie Bush earlier. I believe he's probable now for this weekend.
Yeah, he's probable. They said he's playing. So that I originally liked him. I really liked him this week, and then Bush is back, and I don't like Joik anymore.
Yeah, so that hurts Joik's value a lot. I'm avoiding him. Sankey versus the Giants. Again, tournament play. I like a lot of these guys in a tournament play. I just can't see him in cash games because Sankey's had the matchup before. The Steelers were wide open in the middle of the field, and Sankey couldn't come through against them. I think he got into the end zone, but only got you like maybe 50, 60 yards on the ground that game. He's just inconsistent, and I personally can't see myself counting on him for a cash game. Even if it is against the Giants, who have put half of their defense on IR this year, I still don't. I don't know. It's just still. You with me on that one? I can't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't bring myself to put him into a cash game.
Nope.
Regarding Grice, we already touched on him. What about Gates? What do you think about it? I think I touched earlier on Gates. I like him this week. What are your thoughts on him?
I'm going to go with the prototypical I'm playing in the playoffs in fantasy this week. I hope not. Because I'm playing Rivers, and if Gates has a big day, I'm going to cry. So, no, I don't know. I mean,
That's completely biased.
Come on. Right, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, so I was going to get on with my point. I think what we've seen this year, when the Patriots lose, they come back real pissed off, and they're going to make Rivers look ridiculous. And like he's going to look bad. I don't see the value in anything on San Diego other than Matthews, because the reason I like Matthews is because with San Diego, the way that they're going to play this game, they're going to try to control the ball as much as possible, so they are going to run the ball, and Matthews can catch balls out of the backfield without Woodhead. So I feel like Matthews is the only one with a good chance to do something well, especially with that low price.
Okay.
Whereas everybody else, it's however Rivers is feeling, and whoever he can find open is going to get the ball. It's not, oh, he's going to throw to Keenan this many times, he's going to throw to Floyd, Gates, and Royal however many times. It's just whatever's there, he's going to try to get it. If not, he's going to get his ass kicked.
Greg asked about defenses, which I think is something we don't spend much time on, but we should.
Right.
Lions D or Vikings D this week. The Lions play the Bucks, as we mentioned earlier, and the Vikings play your Jets. Greg likes picking on your boys and getting green.
Greg loves picking up on the Jets, and Alshon just caught an outstanding touchdown.
Oh, yeah?
Wow.
Damn it.
All right, so on defenses, I mean, you can't really go wrong with playing Minnesota against the Jets because, we can't throw the ball. So, there's that whole thing. My sneaky defense this week, and I've been trying to fit them in a bunch of my lineups. I like Kansas City against Arizona because Arizona's terrible right now.
Yeah.
Not good, and the Chiefs are 29. They save money on everything else to, just because there aren't great prices on DraftKings this week, saving money on defenses could make a huge difference with certain players to getting them in your lineups because they're only 2,900, whereas the other defenses that I feel like are worth playing are all 33, 34, and up.
If Ellington plays, does that change your opinion on the Chiefs' defense?
Only a little bit, but I still think that they're so cheap that it's almost worth the gamble because even early in the game when Ellington was there, Stanton looked terrible. Stanton looked awful. And even if Fitzgerald is back, Stanton just, for some reason, he looked okay when he came in the first time. I feel like it was more of I'm just going to hold down the fort while Carson Palmer gets his shoulder back. There's not a lot of pressure on me. I just have to go out and play my 2 or 3 games. Now it's Carson Palmer's out for the year. We need you to bring us to a Super Bowl. And now it's uh-oh, I don't know what to do anymore. And he just doesn't look good. I really think that plays a big factor in it, is that it was kind of more of yo, get us through the next 2 weeks. You can do this. And he kind of made things happen. Whereas now it's all on you. If you don't provide and succeed for us, we are not making the playoffs. We're not doing anything in the playoffs. So it's extra pressure on the shoulders of Stanton, and I don't think he's ready for it.
Okay. Let's see. We got a lot of people talking about stacks here. Greg asked about Trey Mason versus Washington. I don't think Mason has it in him to do the same thing as he did last week. I think Washington's run D is so much better than their pass D that's why I kind of liked that Hill, Stedman, Bailey stack for a tournament lineup. Again, not saying that they're going to go out and score 50 points again, but I don't think we see Mason put up 100 plus yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half again this week.
Obviously I don't think Trey Mason's going to do the same thing, but I think he's going to have a good game. I don't think I would play him on DraftKings just because of his massive price spike. What did he go up to, 6,700 this week?
Yeah, something crazy.
Something nuts like that. Let me just double check. Yeah, 6,700. Obviously, DraftKings don't play him, but I feel like I feel like I want to just throw in a couple little regular fantasy commentary because it is the fantasy playoffs.
We are in playoffs.
You can play if you have him on your team and you need him as an RB2. You can play him, and I feel like you can feel comfortable playing him. Heron broke that big run against the Redskins last week. Yes, the Redskins are better against the run, but I think I don't know. I think with Colt McCoy under center, the games are going to be more ground focused, and that the running backs can get some value out of those games down the stretch. I also feel like teams early on when the weather was good were taking advantage of the fact that their secondary is so bad, and now that it's getting colder, teams are going to run the ball more. So I just feel like that ranking that the Redskins have right now is not going to be anywhere close to what it is by the end of the next 4 weeks. I think they're going to start. I think they're going to start giving up stuff on the ground.
Alrighty. So let's see. Do we want to dive into a FanDuel lineup, perhaps?
Go for it.
Why not? Let's just put a brand new one together then, because I haven't put one in yet. Let me come back to this window and share out my screen one more time. Start my screen share. So let's take a look at FanDuel, and let's talk about kind of one strategy that I like doing sometimes is picking a receiver or a running back or a skill player that I think is absolutely going to go off, and putting that, centering my lineup around that person. So tell me, Alex, then who's one player that you think is absolutely going off this week, and let's plug them in and see what we can get around them.
Can I look at prices first? Like, just do a quick little scroll down for each position, just so I know what I'm doing. Because like sometimes I base that off of like if their price looks good enough and I think they're gonna have that big of a week.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Let's put price aside and just say I'm gonna play this guy no matter what. Like last week it was Le'Veon Bell. He was the most expensive, but I think a lot of people were like, I'm going to play him no matter what.
See, for me, that guy was Rashad Jennings until he hurt that ankle for this week.
Okay, I definitely I'm with you on that.
But I think at wide receiver, I think we've talked a lot about this. I think it's got to be Cobb. There's 2 weeks in a row without a touchdown. I don't think that continues.
So let's plug Cobb in there, and let's at defense. Let's go with your Chiefs pick, because I really like that. Look how low they are, 4,800 on. And
they're 29 in DraftKings. Like that'll save you money everywhere else.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're 8th cheapest on FanDuel this week, so pretty solid there. Kicker, I never pay up for kicker. What I like doing is going for
against the Panthers.
Exactly. I like going for
do it.
Dome kickers at home.
This is so stupid.
I typically play Matt Bryant every time he's at home, so dome kickers at home are my big go-to. So let's see. Any other running backs or receivers that you really want to get in there?
Let me look at. I mean, I don't want to have Lacy and Cobb on the same team. Plus, I don't really think that Lacy is going to hit value. I think he's going to have a good game, but I'm not necessarily sure about value.
Yeah, I'm not going to pay that much for him this week.
Scroll down a little bit.
Yeah.
Keep going.
No, we didn't touch on him because we didn't know about Haloti Ngata's PED suspension now.
He's out.
With Ngata gone, you've got literally and figuratively a massive hole up the middle of that defensive line.
But that said, there was the same hole missing when Mo Wilkerson was out against the Jets, and he did not do much.
Just gonna say that he scored a touchdown, but he got you. I think he got me 14 points in DraftKings, so still not what I thought we were gonna get from him.
I'm way more of a fan of that passing game. Oh yeah, put Jarvis Landry in a wide receiver. Get that in there now.
Okay. Again, I love both of them because they're both PPR monsters as well. On top of them getting into the end zone more often than their teammates, they're both PPR monsters as well. So I think that's a great start to a lineup, going value at defense, incredible value at kicker.
We have a ton of money left for 5 positions too.
Exactly. So then let's look at running back then. Would you rather? Do we want to stack Cobb with Rodgers, even though he's the most expensive?
Why not? Go for it. Why not?
In my opinion, that kind of makes this a 50-50 lineup, so let's just keep that in mind then going forward.
Yep.
And I would say at 50-50, I'm trying to put Ingram in here.
All right, I do have one Question. All right, so this is definitely different for DraftKings, but I was gonna say if I know that these two you know what? I'll save that for my lineup because I have these. Never mind. But uh, on the off chance that Crowell isn't playing and West is starting, I want to see what we could do with West in the lineup.
Okay, let's shove West in there then. Can't find him quickly, so 5,300. We need another running back. We can slam Ingram in there. I really want to play Rashad Jennings.
I know, it's so frustrating. This is going to be one of those ways. See, like, this is the thing that I don't like about this week is that with so many players up in the air, it's just like you have to wake up at 12 o'clock and you might have to remake your entire lineup.
I think.
You know what? You know what you can do for this? Because the price difference isn't that huge. Why don't you put Jennings in there and then you can just flip out Andre Williams?
The price difference is massive. It's $3,000. No, it's not. 900. Wow, it's only 900 here.
That's
Okay.
what I'm saying. Yeah,
Okay.
for FanDuel at least. For DraftKings, it's a big difference, but for this,
Yeah. Okay. And I saw when I was flipping through the chat earlier, I think looking at Tuesday's chat, someone had a really good point. It might have been today's. I apologize. At running back this week, as you guys have seen us struggle here, it may be the week to pay up at running back, pay up for those guys that you think are going to blow up, right? If this is a 50-50 lineup, I'm probably throwing Foster right in there. And I will pay up at running back because I know I'm going to get those points from that player. Whereas, West, Jennings, you need to make sure they're playing, you need to make sure they're starting. And Foster more than likely is already, right? Even if West does play and start,
right.
He's still got those question marks around him. So
How much is Crowell also? Just so I know.
6,500. So you're saving 1,200 by going to West.
Right. Okay.
So in that, let's clear my filter. Since there's more options at receiver, what I like doing.
Graham, done. Graham, done.
Okay.
And then
what I like doing there is picking the tight end first, and now saying, okay, that's what's dictating my last receiver spot. So I've got 5,200 remaining. Let's see what I can get in there for 5,200.
Stedman Bailey, come back, Stedman.
I flew by him, huh?
No, I mean he was all the way up there. You can't really do much about that.
He's out of my league right now. So we've got shit, basically.
Well, where's
Honestly,
Marquise? Where's Marquise? Tell me where Marquise is.
57.
Oh, no.
So you just missed him, but honestly.
But, Jimmy Graham being almost the same price as he is on DraftKings, that's hysterical on FanDuel.
That's interesting on FanDuel, yeah. It's, again, one of those things you got to pay up. Come on, man. 5,200. I saw a guy here that I am not a big fan of, but he gets so many stinking targets, eventually he's got to have a decent day. Eventually he has to have a decent day.
It's the giant. I'm not trusting a giant wide receiver.
Like I said,
that's
I'm not a
named
big
Odell.
fan. I'm not a big fan, but he's got to have a decent day at some point. I think at this price point, Allen Hurns is $100 too much. You've got nothing to play with here.
I know, but keep going. There could be some names that are there. Is 48 like the punt play price?
You're pretty much at punt right now, yeah. I think 45's punt. But you're sitting at punt play right now.
Yeah, that's all.
Nobody.
There's
nobody we can get for 5,200 for value on DraftKings this week. So what that tells me, unfortunately, is that Aaron Rodgers is a bit too
Aaron
expensive.
Rodgers is too expensive.
So let's go back and say, well, if I don't want to pay up 10-4, if I go to 9-4 and stick with Breeze, that gets me an extra $1,000.
I dig it.
Now I can play 6,200, and I can go to the likes of an Eddie Royal, perhaps.
No.
Percy, no. Jennings, no. Moncrief, we spoke about. Colston, maybe against the Carolina.
I mean, if you want to stack, that's not a bad play. How much is Stills right now on here? Probably way more, right?
He's got to be more, yeah. 64.
Oh, what a buzzkill! Well, no, all right. So this is actually the interesting thing that we can do is the fact that we don't know if Rashad is playing. You can kind of, you can play somebody in your lineup for now, but you can already have your plan B in place put Andre Williams in. Get rid of Ryan Matthews. For the sake of this one, if Jennings doesn't play, we're playing Andre Williams because of that Tennessee defense.
There you go.
So that's what I'm saying. Like in certain cases, if you know that you have a guy that might be injured and you have your backup plan already, you know how much money you're going to have back for an upgrade somewhere else. So like if we have Rashad Jennings, then yeah, you're going to go with somebody that's at 62 or whatever. But if Andre Williams is the starter, then you know you can fit Kenny Stills into your lineup.
I don't want to fit Stills in there because
I'm just saying in terms of like a strategy, especially for
I understand. But what I'm saying is we stacked Graham with Green.
True.
So let's just for shits and giggles, Andre Williams is starting, so we're gonna plug him in there at 71. I'm looking at either LaFell or Edelman.
They could both be hurt. I think they're both hurt. They're injured.
Well, they're both questionable for Sunday, right?
Yeah.
But so is Torrey Smith, Mike Wallace, Sammy Watkins. They're all questionable. I mean, they can go Bolden.
I mean, you could also save some money. Try to save some money here, and just make sure that you have enough money for an upgrade to West if he's not starting. Kind of go in that range between Andre and Johnson.
Yeah. But let's just throw Bolden in there. Let's spend all my money right now. There's an interesting lineup. If your running backs both start, we're taking, backups at running back position here. Again, I'd consider this, because of my backs, this is now a tournament lineup because I'm looking at a lot of risk here.
Well, no, if they're starting, it's not a tournament lineup.
If they're not starting, though, I'm saying.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You're taking in a lot of risk, assuming that they're going to timeshare.
I don't think you're playing this lineup if either of them aren't starting, regardless. So.
And someone crazy out there would, I bet.
Not me.
Not me, though. Yeah, not me, though. All right. That's it for our FanDuel lineup. Let's see if we've got some questions out here in the chat room. What do you think about Cam Newton this week? Looks like someone's asking. Jason's asking.
Junk points. So he's just really he's not himself, I don't think, this year. So I can't trust him from week to week, and I don't expect him to do well. I either expect him to have a good first half and a bad second half, or a bad first half and a good second half, and I'm not willing to put my money on that. They're not protecting him well enough. There's no running game to protect him from throwing the ball. It's just he gets his points in the fourth quarter when he throws to Kelvin and occasionally to somebody else on a long touchdown, like last week to Parker. Or what's his name? Preston? I think his name's Preston. I don't even know what his name is.
Preston Parker.
Okay, all right. So no, that's the Giants guy.
Isn't that who you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about Cam's receiver.
Oh, God. I have no idea.
Hold on. Now I want to find his name. It was Brenton Burson? Was that who got it? No, Philly Brown. Sorry. Wow. Completely wrong.
Philly Brown. There you go.
Billy Brown. But I don't know. I'm sorry. I can't recommend Cam until I'm not going to recommend Cam until next year when he's healthy. I am a big Cam fan though. I like that. He's probably the best of the dual threat quarterbacks in terms of running and throwing.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Get Baldwin in at 5,500, Biggie says.
Doug Baldwin?
Angry Doug? I don't know, man. His inconsistencies there. Higher ceiling, I guess, because of what he did against Carolina, but I could see it. I could see it against Philly, but
never.
More so if they were in Seattle.
You're never going to convince me to play Doug Baldwin when my money is on the line.
Yeah. Landry to Stills, then get Baldwin in there, he said. Breeze, Foster, Crowell, Bolden, Landry, Stills, Gates, Graham, and the Chiefs. That's one lineup he has right now. That's a nice lineup, man. Well done.
Say that one again? I like the Chiefs part at the end.
Breeze, Foster, Crowell, so Crowell or West, I'm guessing.
Right.
Bolden, Landry, Stills, Gates, Graham, and the Chiefs.
Okay. Yeah, I dig it. I don't hate that at all.
I like it. All right. We've got a question here from Katie. Calvin, Kelvin, or AJ Green, Odell? So I'm guessing she's asking a Calvin-Kelvin pairing or an AJ Green and Odell pairing. I'm going AJ Green and Odell. What about you?
I'm probably leaning the other way.
I'm not doing that. My bad. I'm going Calvin. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would rather have Calvin in his junk time and have Calvin, who I think is just going to light it up this week, than have Odell Beckham, who I don't know what's going to happen with the Giants. If he had a different quarterback, I'd probably be on the Odell AJ Green side. But the fact that AJ Green is in a divisional game against the Steelers, he always, like, Dalton always finds a way to be a ginger in those games, and he just is terrible. So I can't pick that side. It has to be Calvin.
Seeing even as much as I like AJ Green and as much as we talked about him the past few weeks and how he is Dalton's, obviously his number one target, his security blanket, whatever you want to call him, I don't feel like I can trust Dalton after the dud he put up, not only against, what was it? Against Tampa, he put up shit. Against, what was the Thursday night game? Cleveland, he did nothing. There was at least one more game that I can't think of the opponent, but it was like any time that I've played him expecting, 250 yards and a touchdown, I get 100 yards and 3 turnovers.
Yeah, he's only had 20 plus points 4 times this season, and I want to say that none of those were divisional games. Let me just double check that. 22 against New Orleans, not a divisional game. 22 against Baltimore, but Baltimore's a different story because they can't stop anything through the air. And then, so 2 of his games where he had 20 plus points were against the Ravens. And they're the only team in that division that can't stop the pass. So, no. Andy Dalton in the division is a no-go unless apparently he's playing the Ravens.
All right, we got a couple other questions coming in here. If you went heavy at running back, who are the 2 backs you would want to pay up for? I think I mentioned Foster before, and I'd probably say... Can
we... All right, do you want to... in terms of DraftKings, the 2 guys that I would want to pay up for, well, obviously, choice A would be Rashad Jennings if healthy. If I know he's healthy, I'm putting him in my lineup because that's a great matchup against the Titans team that's thrown in the towel, and just the way he's been the past 2 weeks, he's been fantastic. So that would be my number 1 choice. However, if you had to pay up, probably of those top 10 guys right now, I'd probably go Foster Lacey or Foster Ingram.
Okay.
Because I just think Foster, another week, he's healthier, he's going to get the ball again, like we talked about on Tuesday. Like, Fitzpatrick's going to do the same thing again, they're going to give him the ball. And I think that the Jaguars aren't as good against the run as they have been against the quarterback when he's dropping back to pass. So I think Foster's just going to have a big day.
I think he actually said the exact same thing as you in there in the chat room here. He agrees, Foster and Lacy.
But the only reason that I'm a little worried about Lacy is I think that if the Packers run up the score, Lacy is out again in the third quarter, and he can't get you extra points. Even if he has a good game, he's not going to have one of those great games. But then again, I said the same thing about Bell last week, and it just bit me in the ass. But I think Ingram is safer than Lacy this week because of the matchup against the Panthers in the Dome. And that he could fall over Trent Richardson style into the end zone and get you extra points. He could also catch you a bunch of passes, get a bunch of yards against the Panthers like he did last time they played. And although Lacy's upside is probably higher, there's chances of him reaching his ceiling are lower than Ingram this week. So if I was paying up for 2 top running backs, it would be Plan A would be Foster Jennings, Plan B would be Foster Ingram, and then Plan C would be Foster Lacy.
Okay. If you had to pick one QB wide receiver pair in attorney play, who would you go with and find value elsewhere? I think we kind of showed a couple before. We liked Breeze Graham as a QB tight end.
Yeah, my 2 favorite stacks. If you're spending money on the stack, my 2 favorite quarterback receiver stacks are Graham, Breeze, and then Rodgers Cobb. But if you want to save money, Kendall Mettenberger. Let me look at a couple quarterbacks. Tannehill, Landry, I love this week. I really, really like that tandem this week. I wish Manziel was playing because you could do the Manziel-Gordon one, but if you're really ballsy and think Hoyer makes it through 4 quarters, which I don't, you could do Hoyer-Gordon.
Good luck with that, yeah.
Unfortunately, Watkins isn't healthy. Otherwise, Orton and Watkins would be not a bad play. I like the one we talked about earlier, Sean Hill going up against the Redskins who can't stop the pass with Stedman Bailey. I really like that.
I agree with you on that. We touched on that, though.
And then maybe even Bridgewater to Charles Johnson. I don't hate it. I told you, on paper that looks like the best, like one of the best low price stacks that could just pay such huge dividends, but I told you, there's that little gut feeling I have this week that the Jets show up.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Nelson or who has a bigger day, Nelson or Cobb? I think I'm on the Cobb bandwagon this week. I think they can both have big days, let's be honest. But I think
they could both be great.
I'm in the Cobb bandwagon just because I think he's going to catch more passes. I think that's, from a fantasy perspective, that puts him, those PPR, put him above Nelson in terms of who's going to score more points this weekend. I've got some questions on Twitter, and then I think we'll be done for the night because we are way over time here. Let's see. Logan asks, choosing between Andre Williams or Jonathan Stewart. So I think sounds like a regular fantasy question, not DFS, but I think you've got to keep an eye out for injuries and who's actually going to be playing Sunday, because I think, as we've said a lot repeatedly, if Jennings is out, Andre Williams, no doubt. Jonathan Stewart, not a bad play, but I think as well you need to look at if D'Angelo Williams is definitely out, right? I don't think he's definitely out yet.
I don't care. I don't care if he's out or not. I don't care if one's healthy and one's not. I'm not touching either of those running backs. They have not shown
regular
all
fantasy.
year.
If it's regular fantasy and he's got to play one of them.
If you have to play one of them, you're not in the playoffs. The end. Like, you shouldn't have made the playoffs if you have either D'Angelo Williams or
throw the poor kid a bone and just to give him an answer.
Oh man, if I had to pick between, I'm sorry, between what, Williams and Stewart?
Yeah.
I'd much rather play Andre Williams.
I agree. All right, let's move on. I don't want to talk about either one of them longer than we already have. 6,200 left, and I have to choose a wide receiver. Who do I choose?
DraftKings or FanDuel, super important.
Yeah, he doesn't say, but let's.
On DraftKings, 6,200. I mean, Roddy or Stills, probably. I think Roddy back. I just feel like this game's
Okay.
going to be a shootout. I know that your defense has been playing better and had some great games, but I feel like the Falcons, they last week kind of showed me that they look like they're fighting. They look like they're fighting for that spot right now, and that they're going to do whatever's necessary to get into the playoffs because that division is so bad. And even though they've had such a miserable season in terms of injuries on that line, that they look like they're fighting. That's all I'm saying. They look like they're really that. Despite everything that's happened this year, they look like they're fighting to get their way into the postseason.
On FanDuel, you can hit up Charles Johnson at 6,000.
Yeah,
Colston 6,000. Moncrief, if you got the Stones, he's 6,000. So there's a couple of good options there for you, Wes. And he also said, "How do you think Roddy White does against the Green Bay defense?" I think it's tough to say because I'm normally not a big fan of the Falcons, period, when they're out of the dome, let alone out of the dome in the cold up in Green Bay. So I think Roddy still shows up. I think he's still got skill, and he gets his 6 to 8 catches, maybe a touchdown, but I don't see him going over 100 yards receiving. And I think if he gets that touchdown, I think it comes later in the game as they're really trying to play catch up to the Packers. One last look here at is Julio in for a big game?
That's on you. I hope so.
You can't. I mean, I can never say he's not in for a big game.
Because Julio.
Because he's Julio.
Amazing.
Exactly. I mean, as much as I want to say we're going to shut him down, he's Julio, and he's proven, especially last week, against Peterson, who's better than any DB we got on the roster, and Julio went off. So
made him look stupid, and they were talking about it all game.
Yeah,
great.
So I could see. My big thing is, though, again, it's taking them out of the dome into the elements. So it's not just will Julio have a good game, it's will Ryan be able to get him the ball to get Julio a good game. Julio may catch those targets that he gets, but will Ryan have the time to get rid of the ball and get it to him? Again, I think Julio has an okay game. I don't think he repeats what he did last week, though. Healthy Crowell or Boone Heron this week? That'll be our last question for the night. I'll let you be all over that one.
Healthy Crowell.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree. Because especially,
and I don't even care who's under center.
We started out the show saying Trent Rich. I brought up the Trent Richardson revenge factor, right? Could easily see him pilfering a touchdown from Heron this week. I would definitely take a healthy Crowell over Heron.
Yep. 100%.
Greg. Okay, last one, Greg. Best high risk, high reward wide receiver on DraftKings this week. That's all you, and then we're done.
Say that again. Sorry. Scandrick's freaking out on the sideline.
Best high risk, high reward player on receiver on DraftKings this week.
Best high risk, high reward receiver on DraftKings. I want to say Charles Johnson, but he's not that much risk because he's not really high priced. But I think he could either put up a dud or he could put up like the best day of any wide receiver this week. High risk, high reward for this week. I'm looking. Don't play DeAndre Hopkins this week. Jags are better than that. High risk, high reward. Maybe Mike Evans? going against Detroit because they could shut him down, but it's Mike Evans and he could go off. I think that's high risk, high reward right there.
Mm. That's an interesting pick, considering how all over Evans you've been, all year.
But yeah,
Interesting
because
to call you.
it's because of that matchup, and I mean his price went down a bit because well actually a lot. He's at 67 this week, but that matchup scares me. So obviously he has all of the upside on the planet that you could ever ask for in a wide receiver, but Detroit doesn't really give up that much on the ground or in the air. They're a great defense, so you don't really know. But at the same time, Evans had a terrible game up until the fourth quarter last week, and then he got a couple extra points towards the end of the game, kind of Kelvin style garbage points. But he could either have two huge catches from McCown, or he just doesn't do it. And he doesn't really do it. So that's high risk, high reward for me this week.
All right, guys. That is it for us tonight. We went way over time, but it was good interacting with everyone. We had a ton of questions from Tuesday. Glad we got to all of them. If we didn't, then I apologize. That's my fault. Hit us up on Twitter.
Just hit us up on Twitter.
At Emin Milano, at Alex Hanowitz. Read Alex's stuff on fantasyknuckleheads.com. Check out the links in the description.
I've been late with my articles. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're slacking. You're sleeping 16 hours a night.
No, I didn't do it. Can we not talk about that? That was a one-time thing last night.
So, read Alex's stuff. Hit up the optimizers if you guys need some help in some 50-50 looking lineups on both FanDuel and DraftKings. And remember, share the videos, share the links, follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube. Thank you guys very much again for all the support. We appreciate it. We love the interaction. And good luck this weekend, guys. Let's win some money. Take care, everybody.